Don't go jumping for your volume buttons. There was no audio on this video feed. I was on a whole new setup for this race. Finally moved out to the new pain cave. It's not finished yet, but finished enough that I could move the bike out of the living room where it's been for, well, almost since Christmas really. So at the same time I got new keyboard, new mouse, new headset. The idea was to put the MacBook in clamshell mode, connected by HDMI to the TV that's out there, and run things that way. Also, of course, a new Wi-Fi connection, because the shed is quite a distance from the house. So I had a setup in place that I tested a few times, seemed to be working decent enough, but tonight was the first race on that Wi-Fi. So as you can see me here, I'm playing with settings at the beginning. So with the headset, which I'd never ridden with before, I was getting, the game volume was quite high in the headset, and I also had Discord running in the background because the team was on Discord for this race, and the game volume was drowning out everyone else's voices. So I was making some adjustments there until I had it right. But as it turns out, which I know now, that when I mute my headset, it's also muting what this screen record, what the audio that the screen record is getting. So I'm going to have to play around with it a bit more and try and figure out some of these audio settings. Eventually I'll be using OBS anyway, and probably live streaming so that I don't have to post edit every one of these videos, which can take quite a bit of time. So I won't stop post editing completely because you can add in some of the fun stuff in post edit. But yeah, I think I'll probably start doing a bit more live streaming just to get the videos up quicker and with taking up less of my time. Alright, here we go. Team captain Dave Hyvey had reconned this route to within an inch of its life for about what seemed like 2 weeks leading up to tonight. And we were in no doubt as to what was coming and when it was coming. And during his extensive recon, he absolutely made sure that a bike change was the way to go. And that's what we decided to do, and he was absolutely spot on. So we had picked out the 2 points for the 2 bike changes. Some of us took note of it the traditional way. Some just kept a mental note. Some got it even tattooed. So we summited the first climb, and I dropped back a little bit to try and see did we lose anyone on that first climb. So I think we had 5 of us in the front group, and just one had fallen off a little. I think it was Donny, about 6 seconds back. Yeah, there it is on the right hand side. And then there was a gap of what looked like about 15 seconds back to a bigger group. So already that first climb had caused quite a split in the group. But all of us were in the front group with Donny coming on quick. You can see there now he has it down to 4 seconds. So fair play to him. He was putting in a fair effort there. I think it's down to 3 seconds, and he eventually catches on, and that leaves this front group with all 6 of us in it, and a good, I don't know, maybe 15, 16 seconds back to the group behind. So that was an excellent effort by everyone in the team on that first climb. It's not that easy a climb.
100 metres.
So here comes the bike swap. We knew our team was going to be stopping, and we knew RWB were going to be stopping as well, the Irish Lads Racing Without Borders. And I'm on a keyboard, so it's a relatively quick change. Lads using
I'm on my way.
Apple TV
I'm pedalling. Who's pedalling?
are going to struggle a bit more because of the remote.
Right, the Irish lads are all going.
And so it's all a little bit chaotic because you're not sure who made the change, how quick they made the change, if it went smooth for them. Hard to know who's up ahead of you, who you might be leaving behind. So it's a little bit chaotic. But ideally you just want to all try to group together as quick as you can. So I could see riders off in the distance. It was hard to tell whether they're on my team or some other team. But we needed to get going.
Another group stopped as well.
And just hope that everyone was able to make a good change and get up to speed quick.
I can see Rich Bailey in front of me.
So it's a shame it's not coming across here, but there was quite a lot of chatter on the Discord of who was where and what was going on. But it sounded like for the most part that certainly the majority of us had made the change, and we're moving at a pace. Because remember, we're stopped for 10-15 seconds, and we now have to try and catch that group that didn't stop. So we have to get on it.
Hi Rich, I'm right on your wheel.
So I have a fair idea where everyone is at this stage, or at least I've seen their names on the screen, but I have no idea where Dave Hyvey is. He's just vanished. So he's either way behind or way up in front. And even after watching this video back a few times, I have no idea where he went during that changeover. But when we eventually catch up with the group, he just seems to appear out of nowhere and flies past a lot of us.
That's 53k.
So I'm not sure if he experienced some sort of dropout possibly and just had kept pedaling, and then when he got a reconnection, he just popped back into the game, or I'm not sure how that would work. But yeah, very odd watching the video back. He just seems to vanish. I think he was probably ahead of us at this point, which means he must have made an incredibly fast change and got on it straight away. So he's probably in that group in front of us there, and then you'll see the speed that we could come through this group. Now this is a group that didn't make a change, so we've already caught them, and now we just go straight through the middle of them. And no sooner are we through them, I think Dave now comes, here he is. So he was either with that group, saw us coming through, and then caught on. But what's interesting is after we blew through that group, so after stopping, making a change, catching up with them and blowing through them, it was actually very hard to then create a gap between ourselves and them. They seem to be able to hold on. But as the point has been made, they're probably having to put in more effort to keep with us. So it's really telling. But as the race develops, it definitely turns out that the right strategy was to change, as we'll see. Apologies for the system bar along the bottom of the picture. Another thing I'll have to keep an eye on in future. But if you look at the bottom right hand corner, you'll see there now there's 9 seconds, 10 seconds popping up there. So again, as I drifted off towards the back of this group, I could kind of have a look to see how the gap that had grown to the group behind us, and it looked like it had grown out to about 8 or 9 seconds at that stage. So that was encouraging because we still had to make another stop to change bike again. So we needed to have some kind of a gap, but it did look like we were developing that gap. Now I was proper struggling here. It just seemed to be a never-ending 2-3 degree climb, 3% climb, and yeah, these lads at the front were setting the pace, and there was definitely a couple of times where I thought I'm just going to drop off here, but I just kept hanging in, kept hanging in. I mean, my max heart rate is usually around high 60s, close to 170, maybe a little over 170. I'd never really be going much more than that. So to be at 166 here, um, yeah, I was proper struggling. But you can see some of the watts, like I'm well over 300, going over 400 to keep with this group. So we started to get a little bit of reprieve here, a little bit of downhill, time to take stock of where we were at and who we had, who we'd lost. So I knew we had myself, Dave, and Rich, and it looked like there was a gap back. 37 seconds is showing up there, and then I can actually see almost over a minute back to a group where Kev is. Now, as it turns out, we find out afterwards that in the first changeover, Kev had accidentally switched from a road bike to a road bike. Now, before you start laughing, very easy mistake to make. It's one click too low, or you don't go a click too low enough, whatever. Very easy mistake to make, and effectively ended his chance of being able to stick with us as a group. Now, he didn't realise he'd made that mistake. He thought he was on a road bike and was putting the effort in, and you could hear on the Discord he couldn't understand why he wasn't able to keep pace with the effort that he was putting in. But then I think one of the other lads copped that there was perhaps a disc wheel, I think, on the bike that he changed to, and so that was unlikely to be a road bike, a gravel bike, something like that. Anyway, I'm not sure on the details, but that really made things very tough for Kev. So in fairness, I think it was Paulie stuck with him. I think Paulie had a struggle as well on the changeover. So I think the two of them kind of stuck together to help one another out. And we were left with the three of us up the front. And I think Donny was in between somewhere. Not exactly sure. So here's the second bike change now coming up.
Change. Come on. Ah.
Wasn't the smoothest changeover for me. I got caught on that first menu screen for some reason. So by the time I made the change, it looked like everyone ahead of me had had a very smooth change. And yeah, I had a bit of effort to put in to get caught back onto that group. And this really put the boot into me. Because again, if you look, we're on a 3% climb again. Managed to get latched on, but the group is fairly strung out, and I don't want to miss any breakaway that might happen up front. So yeah, I put in a bit of a kick to try and make sure I stick with it. But that entire effort coming out of that jungle really pushed my 20-minute limit. It's something I'm going to have to watch in the future. But look at the times on the right hand side. Even after the bike change, we're up and running back up to speed. I mean, you're looking 50 seconds back to the next couple of riders and a minute 25 to the group back behind them again. So yeah, definitely the bike change was the strategy to go with. And now I'm looking to see where everyone else is.
I'm in 10th.
Certainly on my team. And the two lads were way up front, so they must have had an incredibly fast change and were back on it quick. So yeah, again, I had to put the effort in to catch up.
I'm behind Dave.
Make up. So at this stage, I'm caught up to Dave. But Rich is just absolutely gone up the road. And yeah, I was happy to just stay where I was for now.
Be happy with the pace, Dave.
So we'd had a nice relaxing spin down the hill. Got the legs back under us, and I was just checking with the team captain whether he was happy with this pace we were going at as a group, or whether he wanted to push it. I wasn't really sure tactically what to do here, or whether we should be doing something different, but he was happy with the way things were panning out.
Just letting these Dutch lads set the pace, just staying behind them.
So we're in a good position. Still 7k to go, but we have a man out front. He's got, well, I think a 6-7 second lead, so that's good. We've two of us sitting in the group, and we have, you know, what we feel is a fairly decent sprint finish, but we also know we're in an elite group of C category sprint finishers, and we're very conscious of that. And I think this entire group was happy to just go at a relatively slow pace. We have a massive gap to any threat behind us. You're looking at over a minute to the group behind, so it's not likely they're going to be catching on to us and causing any kind of a threat. So really, you know, the top 10 places were going to be within this group, and that includes first, second, third. They were going to have to push the pace if they wanted to catch our man, and if they were going to push the pace, we were just going to draft along behind them and let them tire their legs. So we were actually in a fantastic place as a team at this moment in time. So with 6k to go, we can see here that they do make a move to try and catch Rich, who's out front. They'd been slowly pulling him in. We hadn't been helping on that. We'd just been drafting behind. But yeah, they're taking it in turns there to take pulls on the front to try and reel him in. But I think that was a good tactic on our behalf, because it meant that they were having to work harder on the front to pull him back, and myself and David, for the most part, just sat in behind and drafted along, because we didn't care whether we caught him or not. It was going to work to our advantage either way. Now I start turning my attention towards the finish, the running.
The draft power up, is that 15 or 30 seconds? 30, thank you. Could I hit that? Could I hit that with about 500 meters to go?
So yeah, I'm suddenly realizing I have a power up that I've not used. Well, I'd intentionally not used it, but I haven't been in many races with power ups, so I was naive as regards to how and when to use it. So getting some advice from my team, I came up with a strategy, and a plan was in place. And I must have hit the mute button on my headset at that stage, so there's no audio from here on out. But it was pretty much just this group sticking together, and everyone really just trying to get as much rest into their legs before we got to the final sprint. I think we knew there was no split in this group at this point, and that basically it was just going to come down to that sprint finish.
Let's get ready to rumble!
So here we go. You can see how much it slowed down. I mean, I'm putting out under 200 watts, 150 watts here. We're going downhill, so the speed is still quite good, but there's no one really putting out much power at all here. 500 meters. I hit the draft boost. That was the plan. And then it was a matter of sitting and waiting. And then when I saw the majority going, I just put the power down myself. 17th gear. I just found a gear that felt comfortable and just turned as fast as I could. And it was close to the line.
Yes! I must have got it. Yes! I got it. I got it. Ah.
I was elated and exhausted in equal measure, but absolutely thrilled with that victory. Definitely my best result yet in Zwift. Yeah, thoroughly delighted and happy with that.
Oh, I'm happy, happy, happy. Don't doubt that.
As a result of the team effort, we topped the league after race 1. But you can see from the scoreboard how important every single point is. So even if you get dropped on a climb or wherever it might be, something goes wrong, you need to keep going, because you can see there the points that the team got, that if one of those guys hadn't have finished, how that would have affected the overall points. We probably would have finished down third, maybe even fourth, if we hadn't have all crossed that line and put in max effort. So yeah, very important in this style of racing with this point system, to finish the race, and give your all to finish as high up as you can, because literally 1 point can make a massive difference. And you can see from the scoreboard here that even finishing a bit further down in the field, you can still rake in 20 points, 15 points, 10 points, even if you're down in 50th or 60th place, you can still turn in 10 points, which is going to make a massive difference at the end.